Good afternoon and welcome to the Last Stop Africa podcast. It has been a minute. Today we are starting from where we left off, discussing e-mobility and the developments in that sector, especially in Uganda. And if you know that industry, at least you've seen an electric car. It might not be from Uganda, but you know how the concept works. You drive, you charge, no fossil fuels, and that's the future as we've envisioned it. In 2007, a group of students at Makerere University worked on a concept in which they would design a car that worked entirely on solar, and that has metamorphosed into what we call the Kiira Motors vehicle, as we will hear more about it. Today, we are pleased to have Thatcher Mpanga, who is the lead product designer at Kiira Motors Corporation. We are now at their 100-acre new plant in Jinja Industrial Park, so they call it, right? Thatcher, welcome to the Last Stop Africa podcast. You've been around for about 10 years, and I'm sure this is not your first work in this industry. Why don't you give us a brief background on Kiira Motors Corporation, what you do, what you've done so far, and where you are at the moment in production?
Thank you, Alex, for the introduction and welcome to the Kiira Vehicle Plant, like we like to call it, or the KVP if you're not wanting to use so many words. So I've been at Kiira Motors Corporation for a while since I graduated university from Makerere University. I joined the company as an intern first while I was in school, and then later on after graduation I also did some work with them in research as a graduate intern, and then later on I got a job at the company in 2015. So I've been here for about 8 years, like you've said. As you've said, the company started way before that as a project at the university, and it has since evolved into something that we are seeing today. And we were operationalized as a legal entity and started operations in 2018 officially. Those operations involved a number of things, and before that we developed a number of concept vehicles that were really about proving the capability of Ugandans or Africans to make electric cars in Uganda and the region. We started with our Kiira EV, which is the popular green car, the first electric car built in Africa by Ugandans at the university. And that led us into further research and development into how we could, if we can do this proof of concept of electric vehicles that are built here in Uganda, and we have the capabilities to do that, how can we then build on that to create products that Ugandans can buy? So the proof of concept enabled us to do further research into hybridization of that concept, and we were able to develop the Kiira EVS, which is an electric, hybrid electric and petrol engine vehicle, which is the sedan that you may have seen in the production facility. The Beast, we call it the Beast. Ugandans actually named it the Beast, not us, so we were happy with the name because it has that aggressive look, and as designers we wanted a car that has presence, a car that kind of communicates the message we are trying to put forward. The future is electric and we are part of that future. So from then on, we figured, okay, fine, we've come up with these two concepts and they are great. We can be able to make these cars locally. But what's the need that Ugandans have in terms of mobility and in terms of moving from one place to the other? And we realized that whereas these vehicles enabled us to do a lot of research, develop capacity, and build the knowledge that we needed in the industry, we also noted that the need in the market for majority of Ugandans was really just to get from one place to the other. Challenges of traffic jam, challenges of not even having or affording good public transport, not having a public transport in place that is reliable and affordable. So that brought us to the aspect of, okay, how can we build perhaps a product that can address the needs of the larger majority of Ugandans? And that's where the bus came in. And to get into that journey, we're like, okay, what do we do about this? We want it to be electric. Okay, so then we conceptualized around the solar bus, the Kayola solar bus. We called it Kayola because in Luganda, Kayola means everyone. Bona, Muje, it's for all of us. And the idea behind that was, we want a minister, we want Muntua Wanzi or Wanawinchi, like we call them, to be able to use this product happily because it meets their need, because it provides not only the minimum need for mobility, but it also exalts your transport needs by providing things like Wi-Fi on the bus, providing things like internet charging ports for your phone. Most of us have smartphones today. So after developing the Kayola solar bus concept, we then went further in our research into delivering a market product, and we developed the Kayola EVS, which is our market entry product and our flagship product as Kiira Motors Corporation. So at this point, we were ready to launch the product into the market, and we've built the Kayola EVS as the first electric bus built in Africa as well, by Africans and Ugandans specifically. The bus says we have 4 electric buses on the market right now on the road. They've been used on the Northern Bypass from Busega, Chireka for a number of years now. And then they've also been used by civil aviation authorities between Entebbe to Kampala on a daily, transporting their staff. And during that time, we've been able to validate the product within the market, check its performance. If we have a range of 300 kilometers on a single charge, is it able to meet that range? And we've been able to test and see where we can improve the product, get client feedback and customer feedback. And the things we provided in that product have really been embraced by the market, and we've noted that the Wi-Fi is really one of the things that customers are very happy about. The charging ports, at first it took a while for people to get used to the silence of the bus because it's really, really quiet. Even on the road, some bodabodas may not take note of it very quickly. So it's very clean, very quiet, almost zero noise pollution, zero carbon tailpipe emissions, fully electric. And we are really happy with the product, and we hope that by the end of this year, you'll be seeing at least 50 more of those buses on the road.
Actually, I was coming to that question. So, from the science perspective, you've done the validation, you've done the test, and you've noted that it can work. Yes. And being a Kampalan, I know the public transport problem that we have. Yes. We still have the traffic jams, we still have efficient, basically, borders and taxis that are making it almost impossible for someone to drive safely within Kampala. And I'm wondering what steps you have as a plant to cure us of that problem, and what time frames are we looking at for you to deliver? I know now you have 28 buses you said you're working on at the moment. Yes. When do we expect to see them? The timelines you have was for this year.
Yes, they are coming.
Are they?
So we're working on them, and I said by the end of this year, even there will be more than 28, maybe 50 on the road. Some are electric, some are diesel coaches. I'll talk about the diesel coach a bit later, but the plan, really the goal of the Kayola EVS and the broader vision of Kiira Motors Corporation is to lead electric mobility solutions in Uganda and in the region. We want to decarbonize our public transport sector, and like the challenges you've stated, the products on the market right now are very old, very, very old. Taxis, most of them are at least maybe 11 years old or 15 years old, and most of the cars we import anyway. At the very least.
At the very least.
Yeah, most of the cars imported in Uganda are at least 15 years old. That's the average. So we want to change that narrative. We want to substitute mobility solutions in Africa. That's one of our very big goals that we have and objectives as a company. And mass transit or public transit is one of the avenues we thought our products could participate really well, because it not only allows us to replace over, let me say 34,000, I'm not sure how many there are, but 34,000 taxis in Kampala with at least four times less that number. Because a typical 12-meter electric Kayola EVS can replace maybe 4 taxis on the road in terms of the carrying capacity that it carries. But we also have the bus in 10-meter variants as well as 8-meter variants. So for the highways and the really long-distance routes, the major roads in the cities, we shall be using the target, or the proposal is for us to use 12 meters, and most of our customers, based on where their need and where they're going to use the product, we recommend that product for the major routes and major transport operations, because they carry lots of people and they can allow you to acquire a larger range of 300 kilometers plus. Then for smaller routes, maybe of the major routes like in the city and then coming into the, suburbs, we can recommend the 10-meter one, slightly smaller, and it can also work better with the infrastructure we have in place. That one has a range of about 250 kilometers. And then the 8-meter, which is the closest to the current matatus that we have on the road, has a range of 200 kilometers. So we have a wide range of products that can be used for different locations and different applications, whether you want to use it on major routes in the city for public transport, or you want to hire it for your company, personal use, for your family. So we have 5-meter variants as well for tours and campus tours like at Kiira Motors Corporation, the plant. We hope that we'll be able to use some here to, move our stuff around. Visitors, when you come, you don't have to walk everywhere. Walking is healthy, but you can use the electric bus as well.
I think the major question or fear in the market has been on the affordability of the products that you intend, and not just at Kiira Motors, but generally in Africa, the consumption of these electric cars still remains an aloft or like high-end phenomenon because of the cost. I know that in terms of public transport, the Kayola bus, I think, charges about 1,000 for people to move from Boyogere to, say, Busega, which is quite affordable compared to the other alternatives on the market. But I'm wondering, to get a deeper market penetration, what's the long-term plan for bringing that cost and making it sustainable for you?
I think 1,000 is a pretty good cost.
It is actually, it really is.
Because currently, to move from Busega to Chiraka in a taxi, you're paying 4,000 shillings or 3,000. Especially after COVID and current fuel prices, you find that you're going to pay minimum 3,000 shillings. So 1,000 is really, really decent. But the cost of the transport is not on us. That's on the operators. Because for us, we are doing manufacturing. Maybe the cost of the product, in terms of how much do I pay you to buy, to give me a Kayola EVS, that one we can manage. And we've managed that. Electric vehicles are still expensive everywhere, but that cost is coming down slowly by slowly as the cost of the battery, which is the biggest cost driver in an electric vehicle, comes down. And one of the ways we are trying to manage that is, of course, providing different variants of products for different markets. But also we need to kind of help the consumers also understand where the cost is coming down. The acquisition cost may be higher than the ordinary internal combustion engine vehicles, but you're not going to pay for oil changes as much as you would. You're not going to pay for maintenance as much as you would in a internal combustion engine vehicle. That amount of money you're going to pay to charge is going to be much less than the cost of fuel per liter. So that's where our cost saving is. You find that you're going to save at least 60% in operations on an electric vehicle rather than buying an internal combustion engine.
So for those, say, who are out of Kampala, we now have an additional 8 or so cities to Kampala. Those who are, for those that are outside of Kampala, in Guru, Mbara, or here in Jinja now, where you operate, what's the likelihood that they will see some of this new technology areas so they can also be able to reduce on the cost of public transport where they are?
So definitely our vision is that by 2040, public transport will be 100% electric. So if you're moving from Kampala to any of the major cities, the vision is that you use an electric bus to get there. So what we've started with, Kampala city definitely is the largest city and also has the largest population. So it's a low-hanging fruit, you could say. It has its complications politically, but it's a low-hanging fruit in terms of market access and market penetration. But we are not targeting Kampala alone. Jinja City is another target, and I know that Secretariat of Science, Technology and Innovation wants to do a pilot for electric buses here in the next maybe 2 years. So that's another target that we have. We plan that project should start in the next year also. But at the same time, all major cities, there are different steps being taken to see that the public transport within the cities becomes fully electric. But in the meantime, as we head there, we are also providing the Kayola diesel coach, which is helping us to mainstream should I say, comfortable long distance travel. You're traveling and you're at peace because you're not going to get an accident, or you're going to get there in one piece. You can still do your work on the bus if you're a business person. So the features in the electric bus are very close to what we have in the Kayola coach, because it's actually a bit more comfortable because it's long distance travel. So the seats are much more comfortable. It has a refrigerator, it has a screen. It's been used a lot by the tourism industry has actually embraced it much faster than the, well, you can put in your beer. You can buy your Nile special, put it in there, and enjoy a chilled beer on the Kayola coach with a beer made on the Nile. So the Kayola diesel coach is, it's right now we have 12-meter variant as well as 10-meter. And it's still diesel for now, but we are also working on an electric version, which we hope to test next year on the market as well. And I could say that the market is embracing it really, really well as well. It's done excursions in Uganda. It's been in Mombasa, Kenya. I think it was there a few weeks back actually. Many people are using it, especially the tourism sector. Yeah, so it's our offering right now for long distance travel as we get charging infrastructure in place to support full electrification of mass mobility.
Before I come to you to ask you about the future plans that you have at the plant, I wanted to inform our listeners that this podcast is brought to you with generous support from the Mastercard Foundation and Africa No Filter, with support from the Rockefeller Philanthropy Advisors. We'll be doing 8 episodes of this as a series towards till the end of the year, and we're profiling trailblazers, African or Ugandan organizations that are doing amazing work in the climate change space. At the moment, we're at Kiira Motors Corporation in Jinja, seated with the product design lead, Thatcher Mpanga. So, Thatcher, 2 more questions before you wrap up. First, now that you have this plant set up, it is entirely solar. I've come to learn. I have visited all the 3 areas of the production process. What are we expecting you to bring to the market to help us with not just the fossil fuel, but also the environmental conservation? Because whilst we have abundant resources like solar, for which now you're currently utilizing, there's still another significant percentage that is still contributed by the fossil fuel industry. How can we bring that down? And now we can discuss the decarbonization that you talked about.
So we have embarked on the decarbonization of mass mobility, but we also believe that decarbonization in our production process is important. And just to clarify, as our plant is not 100% on solar, it's currently all our lighting is on solar, 100% lit by solar. I think that's more accurate at the moment. But it's 99% renewable, I could say, because our hydro is really generated, it's renewable. The goal is also to increase our reliance on solar, and we are setting up our plant's energy consumption is about 7 megawatts in total at half production capacity at the moment. And we want to we've embarked on setting up a 5 megawatt solar generation capacity as well, which will kind of bring that to 100% at half capacity. But later on at full production capacity, we'll probably be utilizing a bit more of the hydro than the solar. But those 2 have helped us make sure our plant is using as much renewable energy as possible. And just to delve into the processes in the plant so that you have an idea of the capacity we have. Our plant sits on 100 acres, which you mentioned earlier. And we have the installed production capacity at full capacity will be over 5,000 vehicles annually. And currently we have a body shop that is capable of doing welding, capable of doing parts manufacturing. We have a chassis integration line where we get all our components for the vehicles and the chassis system in place. We have a paint shop. We shall have an e-coating shop which uses electrophoresis to coat the vehicles and paint them. We have a trim line and final assembly line, which is the building we're seated in at the moment, and that's where now we integrate different components like glass into the buses, as well as some electric components. Then towards the southern side of the site, we have the quality inspection and testing facility, which is almost complete as well. And then we shall also have, in the larger master plan, or the larger scale of things, we also plan to set up staff housing on site towards the southern end. And then we shall also have additional facilities, including a skilling center to upskill our staff, but also to onboard interns, to train graduates, and also bring other people who would need training from other companies, those services to our site. So we hope that in the near future, by the end of this year, we want to commission the plant. That's in December, and we shall roll out our first buses off the production line at that point. Yes. So when that's ready, so when we commission the plant in December, we hope that we'll increase our production and be able to roll out buses much faster. I know earlier when you were asking about, okay, we only see a few on the road. It's because of the production capacity that we've been having before. But now, once this is ready and in place, we hope that we'll be able to roll out the buses as fast as the demand entails. Yes.
From your own assessment and from what you've seen in the 8 years you've been here so far, what do you think is the greatest challenge to the production of, or even adoption of, the e-mobility vehicles in this country, or the region at large?
So there are a number of barriers, but I could say there's the issue of acquisition cost, which we talked about earlier, but there's also the charging infrastructure, which I think is a very, very important one. Once we have the products on the market or available, if I'm giving you a car and I've not given you a charger, or you have no clue where you're going to charge it, you're going to get something we call range anxiety, whereby, okay, will I be able to drive to Jinja and get back? So you'll be like, let me not drive this car, let me just use my, and get to Jinja, because I'm sure I'll come back. So we need to address that range anxiety, and the only way we can do that is by, as we provide the vehicles, we need to provide the charging infrastructure, so that you're confident that your car will not only get you to Jinja, but in case you need to, you can recharge and get back to Kampala. So one of the other things we're doing as Kiira Motors as a manufacturer is also providing charging infrastructure, and we want to set up a charging network within the country. At least by 2028, we should have at least 1,500 charging stations implemented across the country, and we've designated clear routes stemming from Kampala, of course, where we have majority of people, Jinja, where our home is. So that implementation is going to come with many partners. There's us, there's other energy providers like Total, there's the Ministry of Energy, who is a core player in this, as well as the Secretariat of Science, Technology and Innovation, and then other private sector players who are willing to get on board, definitely. So that issue, and then of course the financing aspect to allow people to afford vehicles a bit better than they would normally. I guess those are some of the barriers that I could talk about. And then the final one is awareness. So there's the issue of not knowing how these cars work. People are worried that the car will knock you as you're here, or that it will, when it rains, it will electrocute you. So there are some of those gaps that need to be addressed in terms of awareness. And also for people to understand that difference in cost of operation and cost of acquisition, and how that becomes more advantageous for you to own an electric car vis-a-vis a traditional ICE engine.
So there are two things I wanted to ask you about, but it's just one question. It's a misconception that is in the market that you don't manufacture. Kiira Motors doesn't manufacture any cars, you assemble cars. Is that true? Is that true?
It's true that we do assembly because it's part of the manufacturing process, yes. So I think in order for people to get that right, is they need to understand how a car is made. When you're making a car, you're not going to make everything on a car. No one does that globally. Making a car starts with you designing the car. It starts with you understanding the engineering behind the car, defining the specifications, understanding how these will come together, also designing who is going to supply whatever you need on that car, and designing the components or systems that go into that car. So once you have designed and defined your specifications, you're not going to then go ahead and, okay, let me start making bolts, let me start making tires, let me start making glass. No, there's no time and money for everyone to do each and every one of those things. So I'll come to Alex and say, Alex, can you make me bolts of this nature? These are the bolts I need. Can you make me tires of this nature? These are the tires I need. And then you get those suppliers to feed into your production system. And for us, our production system includes body manufacturing, where we fabricate the different body components on our vehicles. It includes the electrophoresis and e-coating, the different processes I talked about earlier. It includes the final assembly, which I also talked about. So final assembly is a core component of the manufacturing of a car, but it's not the only one. And at Kiira Motors, we do the final assembly on top of the other things that come in to feed into the entire manufacturing process, which includes design and engineering, body fabrication, welding, making some of the components, maybe the seats and the batteries. For now, we've embarked on, our goal is to make some of the components ourselves, but eventually our biggest goal nationally is to see how we can localize all the components. And by localizing, I mean how can we get Ugandans like you and myself to make some of those components locally. The target is 65% of our products being made in Uganda, not necessarily by Kiira Motors, but by different suppliers. So we shall make seats, we shall make the batteries, we shall make the some of the aluminium components, some of the glass components. Our buses have bamboo floors, we shall also make that as well locally. And some of it could be supplied by other people, but internally we shall be making part of some of those parts locally as well. So I could say that's how you would define the manufacturing process for a car. Vehicle assembly is part of it, but it's not the only one. Yeah. Maybe before you go away, just to help us achieve that target of localization and 65%, we are setting up a supplier park in Kayunga, which is being set up by the Secretariat of Science, Technology and Innovation. Kiira Motors is the implementer at the moment, and that park will be a parts manufacturing facility, industrial park that is eco-friendly, also to kind of see how we can continue producing locally, getting resources locally, and having domestic manufacturers here. So that is also aimed at helping us achieve that localization agenda and substituting imports.
I don't know if you can discuss, it's not competition per se, but outside of Kiira Motors, but still in Uganda and still in the e-mobility sector, what other players, either government or private sector, have you seen that are also giving a significant contribution?
Yeah, that's a good one, because there are a number of players actually. So the Secretariat of Technology and Innovation, which is our home mother government agency at Kiira Motors, has mobilized the e-mobility ecosystem in Uganda. And for now, we've identified 80 e-mobility players. This includes people in energy. It includes manufacturers like Kiira Motors Corporation, like Zembo, who are doing electric bikes, Border Work, who are doing electric borders as well, and lithium-ion battery manufacturing. We've also identified people in value chain financing, which is very important for the e-mobility sector. We've identified people in digital services and digital infrastructure, so people doing like ticketing systems for transport operations, people doing digital services that are necessary for our operations to run. Then transport operators. So there are some operators who really want to go fully electric. Chondeka is one of the ones that are really trying to streamline public transport. Those are built by us as well. Not designed by us, but built by us. Then we have people in policy and planning. So we've so far mobilized over 80 players at the moment. And people are really stepping up in terms of getting the sector to the map. And I know that Border Work recently, I think, launched their plant of where they are going to produce over 1,000 bikes, I think, before the end of the year, electric bikes. And they are really scaling up production as well. So there are very many players actually coming up. Many are still in the motorcycle market, but we hope we can also impress them to join the passenger vehicles. Currently, the passenger vehicles, I think we have distribution by Motor Care is the one that has electric cars on the market locally. And then you can also import yours, of course. And now there's, I think, a 0% duty on the importation of an electric car for 1 year. So
I had a question about jobs, specific question. Assuming you're operating at 100% capacity at this place, or even the Kayunga project, how many on a rough estimate would you say you'll be creating?
So at full capacity directly, the Kiira vehicle plant shall employ over 1,000. at full production capacity, over 1,000 people. That's directly in the plant. But yes, that's here at the plant. But of course, we have suppliers. So if there's usually a fractional factor that we use, that for every one job in a vehicle manufacturing plant, it employs 7 people in suppliers outside. And that's just for the manufacturing part, but there's also things like services in the transport sector. So you're going to have a factor of about 11 times actually more than what we have here. That's just by the Kiira Motors vehicle plant directly, and indirectly those are over 44,000 jobs. And then when you go to the park now, that's a different agenda, because there you have over 10 parts manufacturing. So you have over 10 mini Kiira Motors there. So the goal we are seeing nationally is that the automotive sector or mobility industry shall create over 500,000 jobs in the next 15 to 20 years.
Thank you so much, Thatcher Mpanga Nakimuli. Finally got your name at the end. The production design manager at Kiira Motors Corporation plant in Jinja. This podcast is brought to you by African No Filter and the Mastercard Foundation and the Rockefeller Philanthropy Advisors. My name is Alex Taremwa. This is the Last Stop Africa podcast, produced, of course, by the great Francis Amokule. We have Edward Nimsima, who is my co-founder, also on set. It's been nice having you. See you next week.